Wonderful. Oh, can I just get a countdown? It helps.
Okay, rolling in 3, 2.
Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel and another episode of the Relebogile Mabotja podcast. And I'm so excited for today's guest because I recently had her in studio on 702 performing, and we've been bumping into each other so many times in the industry, doing different roles in our capacities or respective capacities. She is a singer, somebody who has been around for 2 decades, which is not a small feat. But I realized, you know, the team and I were like, we can't find any like hectic interviews of her, so we dragged her here to come talk to us. ZamaJobe is in the building.
Yay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, is this the new you? The sexy lingerie.
Yeah.
I love it for you. I really love it for you. Because you're like a MILF now. Full on MILF.
How dare you?
No, listen, I love this, but this is not a new look for you.
Yeah.
I've seen you at other gigs.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we've worked together, Afro Cafe, where I was emceeing and you were performing at an event.
Yeah.
I attended a wedding you were performing at.
Yes, were you at that wedding? Did I see you?
You didn't see me.
I didn't see you. You told me about it.
Yes, because I could hear you singing.
Yeah.
But there was so much to see that I didn't get a chance to see you. It was, guys,
expensive wedding.
Expensive, like the wedding that you like bring back top billing just for this wedding. How have you been though?
I've been good. You know.
You look like you are in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, I am. It's because I'm a positive person, you know. So even if like 80 things can happen, 80% of things going wrong in a day, I still gravitate towards the 20%.
Yes.
So that's why every time when somebody asks me, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good, because there's something to be good about.
Yes. So I remember, because you and I talk about this often, where you had just finished Idols.
Yeah.
You left in the top 7.
Yes.
Top 7.
Yes.
And I used to just admire you, like you were recording an album with Jazz Works.
Yeah.
And I was like, she is within.
Yeah.
And then you launched your album like, and the music was crazy. And I used to just admire you. You were somebody I would write and say, I want a career like What Happened With You. Not necessarily the part of going on a reality show, but the part where you didn't necessarily win this thing, but you still made a statement. And that year, you were the breakout star of that show. Yeah. What does it feel like, because it's 20 years after the album, when you look back on that time?
Like unreal. What's the word? Surreal. Yeah. It doesn't feel real at all. Like I'm only now just like gravitating that this is really my life, you know. But I think for like years, I was just kind of just rolling with the punches, just going with the flow, you know. So now it's only like I'm starting to kind of solidify myself like within myself, that okay, I'm really here and this is who I am and this is what I do. I know, it's been 20 years.
So you were on a high.
Yeah.
You dropped your second album.
Yeah.
And I was at the launch of the second album.
Yeah.
I still remember it was like a cinema style at Universal or something like that.
Sony.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
The brain. And I just remember thinking, flip, I loved the sound.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Now, what changed between album 1 and album 2 that your sound was so different?
Yeah. I mean, Ndawo Yam didn't have, you know, the same kind of commercial success as Ndawo Yam. But it also did well. And for me, it's like my favorite album.
It's also my favorite, if
really?
I say. Well, you know that even the lead Ndawo Yam track is one that I've had on repeat, because I just love what was happening with the guitar and that song and the chord progressions.
Yeah.
But why was the sound so different?
I think I went through what I was told, what a lot of artists do, which is the first album, it's really introducing yourself to people and you sort of trying to please them, you know, and kind of make people happy and introduce yourself. And then the second album, you're kind of trying to prove that I'm actually deeper, like I'm a deep person, you know, I've got depth.
The way you're like, I've got depth.
I have depth.
So for you, Magic and Hey Hey were not like for you the depth that you felt you were capable of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Ndawo Yam. Ndawo Yam gets me paid. I talk about my albums like they are human beings, but like Ndawo Yam gets me paid. You know, till this day, where it's like most of the music I perform when I'm performing live, it's like 4 or 5 tracks are from Ndawo Yam alone. So it's a very special album, and it does kind of represent who I am, you know, as a person. I think the most than all my other albums, but Ndawo Yam is just very artistic, and I think I delved and I became artsy, you know, and sometimes I can fly over people if you're not really a creative person or an artsy person. That can be like, I don't get this. Whereas in Ndawo Yam, it's very bubbly and it's for the people. Yeah.
As in, and when we say for the people, we mean a little bit more commercially skewed.
Yeah, it's very feel good, bubblegummy, happy, whatever. And then Ndawo Yam is very melancholy, very moody, very you know, just airy type of vibe. Yeah.
So one thing I remember about that album is that you were working with your person you were in a relationship at the time.
Of course you're gonna go there.
And I have to, and I'll tell you why. Because I often think about women who make music working with the men in their lives and how that influences their sound and their messaging. So how did that influence you? Because I remember, hey guys, when it was CD, you opened the book and his name was everywhere. I said, okay. So you guys co-wrote, which to me sounds like a natural progression. You're together all the time. You're both musicians. You're going to find yourselves writing music together. How much of that sound was you and how much was him?
Look.
We're not saying his name.
He thinks, I can say his name, he thinks it was all mostly, I mean, he even said, you know, I'm going to put him on blast, but I still love him. He even said, Michael Jackson wasn't Michael Jackson without Quincy Jones. And I was like, Michael Jackson was still Michael Jackson, you know? So we've had that argument so many times, but it was both of us who developed that sound, you know. It was both of us. We would chill in the studio for hours from morning till like late, and just
you, him and the guitar.
Just me and him and the guitar, and just developing a sound. He would and we weren't together then, he would just intensely ask me questions. Who do you love? And I said, oh my God, Sade. Oh my God, this one. And then why? And I said, oh my God, Stuart Matthews, who's the musical director for Sade. I said, I love Stuart Matthews. I like what he's doing. Would watch DVDs. I would break it down. He said, what do you love? Who else do you love? I said, I love the drama. I said, why? I said, the drama is not... He's got...
Just clean.
It's very clean. Keeps the whatever, gives Sade the space. And he said, what else? And you'd make notes. What else? I said this, and I'd break it down. I love her voice. I like how they're doing this.
This man was the Quincy to you, Michael. You don't want to give him the credit, but if from an artist development perspective, that's a good process to go through.
Yeah, it was. That's why I recommended him, because after Idols, Sony was throwing so many people at me, so many producers, putting me in the studio with so many people, and I didn't like them at all. I said no, and they were great musicians. I'm not going to name them, but they just didn't really want to get to know me. They just kind of like wrote me songs and said, sing it like this. And I just thought, And I was 17 then, but I was just like,
I still can't believe you were a baby.
Yeah, I was.
You were a baby.
I was.
So what was the age gap between you and this grown man?
That's why I said at that time we weren't together. Before you putting him on blast.
No, I'm just checking. How old was he?
When I sat on the seat, I said, don't ask me when. Eric was about 8 years my senior.
That's not bad.
No.
As long as you weren't 17 when he was 8 years.
No, I mean, look, in his defense, I was 17 when I did Idols.
Yes.
And then I got voted out, and then I started working on the album at 18. And then I dropped the album at 19. So I was 18. But that's why I said when we were starting the music, we weren't together then.
So what was the thing that transitioned from riffs to
romance? Traveling together, being on the road together for days on end, and him just helping me through so many things. You know, when I was shooting my first music video, I was terrified. They had to edit him out. You're a TV person, so they had to. He was, when I'm dancing on Magic there, I'm dancing with him, but they edited him out because I was in the bathroom, like in my fetus position, and I was just terrified.
What were you terrified about? Because you had been on a live show singing your ass off every week.
I don't know. I was so scared, and the production had to stop for about 2 hours, and they had to call him to come. And Maria from Sony was like, I'm going to call Eric.
I know Maria, but a pillar of strength.
Yes, Maria.
And he had to be your pillar of strength to come help you.
Yeah.
So he comes through, helps you, and then at some point this transitions into a romance.
Yeah. And he becomes that for me throughout everything on the road. When I thought I flopped, he would talk me through it. When I thought, I didn't do that very well. There's a lot of things that you need to learn in the game, because even if you can have, let's say, a successful album, there's still gigs that you do. Like, for instance, when I first started doing my corporate gigs.
Yes.
You know, you thinking they're different from like a festival, where a festival, people are coming for music and they're celebrating you. And then
as opposed to corporate, people are forced to sit and listen to you.
They'll pay you the check. The check is great, but they're eating and they this and they that. And things like that would throw me off, where I'm thinking, but why were they not responding? And then he taught me things like, a corporate function is a rehearsal on stage, you know, so take it as a rehearsal on stage, but more like a festival or a club gig. People are coming for you and they're coming for the music, so they are invested. But at a corporate, you are just the entertainment in between the speeches and between this and between that. So things like that, because I would do my first corporate and, you know, the whole country is happy about Ndawo Yam. I mean, I'm like, what's...
They sit there and like a few people are like...
Not even. It's plates and clink, 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 clink. They're eating. And I'm just like, what? You know, so things like that. He would talk me through things like that when I get off stage. Just a lot of hand-holding. A lot of hand-holding.
When did Baby come along?
Baby came along, I think... 3 years after Ndawo Yam. Yeah. So I was about 22, I was very young. And so that's when my first child came through. And
just to confirm, this child was with the same person?
Yes, it was with him.
So you have a baba?
Yes.
When and why did things start like falling apart?
After baba.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes
which a lot of couples
happens. Yeah. It was after baba, and it became too stressful for me. Like, I was young, and I mean, the first time we found out, I was jumping on the bed. I think we were at some hotel room somewhere, you know, gigging from somewhere, whatever, and he was kind of like just devastated. And I guess because he was older and he knew what was about to happen, I was a bit naive and I just did not know, you know. So I was just very excited about, you know, being a mom. The country wasn't really happy. Like, I mean, the headlines and all of that, and it was just a lot.
How did you actually announce your pregnancy or tell people, or did they just see you walking around with a bump?
I think I wasn't really surrounded by good friends then, or somebody, like, I think somebody leaked the story, leaked that information. Yeah.
What were the headlines saying?
Everybody felt I was too young. I had so much going on, and I was on a path. I was on a groove, man. And they just felt like I shouldn't have, you know? And now that I'm almost 40, I sort of get it in a way. At that time, I didn't really care, because for me, it's like, if you can buy diapers and you can buy formula and you can give them a good foundation and give them a roof over their heads, clothes on their back, you qualify to be a parent. And it's much more than that now that I realized. Just because I could pay for things didn't mean that, you know, I was entirely ready to be a parent.
Where was your headspace and mental, what was your mental state like at the time where you are young, you're in love, you are a star, you've got a baby on the way, then this little person arrives, which for those of you that haven't had babies and newborns come home, the realization that you have to keep it alive, it's like it's that reality check where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm too young for this. So what mindset were you in at the time? Where was your mind at the time?
I mean, my mind was just, now I had a family, you know. We were a family, and, you know, most women who have that dynamic will know that you need a certain level of maturity to handle all of that, you know, because you basically kind of, you know, playing a partner, and you also playing mother, and you have a serious family. And for me, I was 22, 23. Not that I really wanted to be out in the streets. I was never really that type of personality, you know. I was always an old soul, even. That's why my music at 18 was sort of jazz, you know. I've always been an old soul, so even my personality. But so it wasn't that I wanted to be out in the streets and all of that, but I still wanted to kind of be out there. I didn't want to be playing that role yet of like keeping a family and all of that. And so it wasn't a really well thought out plan. But my daughter is amazing, Tianjana, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Look, and I think the reality is, because we need more safe spaces as mothers to have real honest conversations. I'm not one for the streets, but sometimes my child makes me want to go out to the streets and just like, yay. But I'm glad you're mentioning like the responsibility, the big responsibility that sits on you, that you have a family. What was your family saying about the fact that you were a mom at 22? Were they also of the view of, well, she's working, so it's fine?
Yeah, it was kind of like that. My dad was happy. I was shocked. He was, but it makes sense why, because a year later he passed away, you know. So he got to see his grandchild. He was so happy. He took 3 months out of work to come and chill with me. In the house. He wasn't even helping. I was like, I don't know why this dude is here. He was just going, and then, you know. But he came and lived with us, and I'm so glad my partner at that time was so cool with that, you know. He was very cool with that, and him and my dad really liked each other because of the jazz influences. My dad was a jazz collector, so they would just always connect on that level. My dad liked guitar as well. That's why I picked up guitar. So he used to always say, Zama, ungamlahla guitar man. Ungamlahla guitar man. I was like, I think you're more in love with him than I am. Guitar man. Ungamlahla guitar man. So they would hang out and go downstairs and he would play some riffs.
I already love your dad, may his soul rest in
Yo,
peace.
he would make the whole house
Hotbox the house with a newborn baby. I love it.
My dad was such a rebel, you know. So he was very happy about it, and he used to laugh throughout the process, because my daughter used to cry all the time. I have kids that cry, you know. So it was kind of a shock, like a reality shock to me, like, because it was this human being who would pass her around because she cried so much. So to some point where, you know, you have don't where you cry with her, because, you know,
the postnatal depression.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that severe, but like I would just be crying with her because it was just the most shocking. And I'm 22, and I'm just like, yo. And my dad would come and just peep in, and then he would like, finally somebody who gives you a taste of your own medicine, you know. And he would make jokes like that, and he made the whole situation so much more lighter for me, to be honest. And yeah.
Where was mom at the time?
She was also around. She was we were fighting a lot, because my mom is very headstrong, so she would come snatch the child, and I was like, you know, because she's raised kids, you know what I mean? So she would snatch and then wrap like this and then go away as granny, and I would be angry because I want to figure it out. Like, can
Don't worry,
everybody
I've
just
been there.
get out now?
I've been there with my mama as well. Listen, moms and daughters fight. Also because the role of granny is changing, ne?
Yeah.
It's not like before. So what happened that you betrayed your dad and got rid of Guitar Man?
You know, I had to explain to him that I just couldn't do it. It was a lot that was sitting on me. We were working together. We were kind of like running the business together. So things wouldn't happen unless I was up on my feet and doing things. So it was a lot that I felt was put on me, and I'm just not built like that. There's women who can, like I said, keep a family together, and they will do everything to keep it together. And for me, maybe at this age I can do that now, but at 22, like I said, not necessarily that I wanted to be out in the streets. I just didn't want to do that.
Do you mean then that in the business, I'm assuming that he took on manager role?
Yeah.
And if you're not up and about performing, that's
we're
the
not
income.
making money.
Yes. So the strain is also
on
the
me.
finances are dependent on you.
Yeah.
What was the reason that he stopped doing the other stuff he's doing? Because we know in this country, if you're a guitarist or a producer, you work with other people.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he was really invested in what we were doing, and it was working out. And I think that was also part of like his frustration with like, oh my God, we're pregnant, because he knew things would change, you know. I think it was really we were putting so much energy into what we were doing, and I look at that now, and I think I'm so candid, you know, but I look at that now and I'm thinking, had he maybe took on other projects, it would have, maybe our relationship would have probably survived.
Really?
I think so, yeah. And I've never had this conversation with him, and I love him dearly. He's like one of the most softest humans, you know, very soft-spoken, not very, you know, not disrespectful, very chilled, and he's got a very calm nature, and I've always loved that about him. But, you know, we've never really, I think, had a discussion. I mean, for me, when we broke up, he even said to me, "You were too young." And I said, "Yeah, I think we should have just kept the albums coming and just kept practice," because he was also my guitar. That's how he started. I met him. He was a guitar teacher to me before even Idols. So we probably should have just kind of focused on that and then like maybe develop the relationship, go through the right process, get married first, and then, you know, work on our relationship and our dynamic and communication and all of those things, and then talk about things step of the way, and make a conscious decision. Okay, now when I have a child, how are we going to do this? Because he did eventually take on other artists on a production level. Like he did produce Hugh Masekela's last album before Hugh passed away. Yeah, I think the album Paula, he worked with Hugh, and you know, Hugh was big in South Africa but was also big in Europe a lot, you know, so he would spend like half of the year in Europe doing jazz festivals and all of that. So he was also the musical director. Everything that he was doing with me, he started doing with Bra Hugh. So I think the reason why he didn't want to take on other artists, because he knew that he would have to give them the same kind of level of dedication, and maybe he might abandon me, and maybe he thought I still needed to be handheld. But once we brought the baby, it became too much pressure on me as well to work even when I didn't feel like it. Go back. I had to go back on the road 3 months after my daughter was born, and I was still breastfeeding her. So I had to, my first gig was in Angola for about a month.
What?
Yeah, we spent like a month in Angola.
Why is it a month gig? Was it like a residency?
It was actually like the president of Angola. He was doing like a campaign for malaria or something like that. At that time, there was a really big problem with malaria, especially in the sort of rural areas, and kids were suffering and they were not going to school. It was a big problem at that time. So it was a campaign and gigs and things like that, you know. Yeah, just sort of bringing awareness. So it was a mixture of all of that, and yeah, so that gig was just taking so much out of me, and but it was a great gig, and we both had to go, you know, because he's the musical director in the band. And when I came back, my daughter, I don't know, mothers would know this, but if you've been separated from your child, especially if you're breastfeeding, when they come back, they don't latch anymore.
Yes.
They play with it, like this.
Yes.
They play with the nipple, and then you try to, and then it just plays with the nipple, and then you put the bottle, then they suck, you know. And I think for me, that's when the relationship started just sort of spiraling down for me, because I just felt like I wanted to be with my child for a little bit, and I just felt like I didn't have that choice. I didn't have that option, and it was incredibly heartbreaking for me. It was a disconnect with my child, like, and yeah.
So was that the moment that you felt, I'm ending the relationship, but also I'm ending the weight sitting on me to go gig? I actually want to chill a little bit.
No, I mean, I ended the relationship, but and then my mom came in full force, and that was another crazy dynamic, because, you know, she came and lived with me full time, and she was like, your career, go on, I've got this, and a nanny. So I was still out there, out and about, but now I was like, okay, full-blown breadwinner, and I was okay with that position, you know, and yeah, so I was okay with that, because I was single, and I was like, I'll take that on. But in a relationship, it's a different dynamic. It just feels like this is a lot, but on my own, it's like, okay, I can handle it. I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah.
No, it does, because I think it's maybe feeling the weight of another adult, which can build resentment and other things, as opposed to with your mom, she's contributing to taking something off of your plate.
Yeah.
So how then does the transition happen when you break up with somebody that you're working with?
Yeah.
Are you like, you're out the band? Or you're like, let's see if we can work together?
Look, he did Ndawo Yam. We finished it, kabuhlungu. Siqede kabuhlungu le album because obviously, you know, there's feelings involved, and also with Ndawo Yam, the first time around, it's so weird. The first time around, everybody thought I'm just this cute little thing that knows what she's doing, and they would listen, you know. And I'd like, even with Dave at Sony, I'm like, I don't like that session with this person. He was like, okay, who else do you want to work with? I said, I'm going to give you somebody else. And I'd come back and have a meeting with him. I was like, They didn't think I was dramatic or anything. I was kind of cute with it, very demure. I'm joking. But I'll be like, And then he was like, okay, Zama, we need to find somebody. And I'll be like, okay, I've got this person. They were like, cool. And then, you know, once Maria came on board as well, and I'll be like, I don't want it like that. And they're like, okay, what do you want? How do you want it? Whatever, you know. And I kept the same personality in Ndawo Yam, but now we've had a successful album. So now it didn't come across as being cute anymore. It didn't come across as like, oh, she's so young and she knows what she wants. Her head is, you know, she's very solid with it or whatever. With Ndawo Yam now, it started coming across as, because now we've got a successful album, it started coming across as I'm being a bit dictateful or commanding or something like that. When I used to do the same thing with Ndawo Yam, I'd be like, no, I don't like that. And it's like, no, it's fine, Zama, you're being difficult. And I'm like, but I was the same with Ndawo Yam. But the dynamic had changed then. Like I said, that, you know, yeah, now there's been success, there's this, you come across as demanding. So that was hard. With Ndawo Yam, there's a lot of things I was like not okay with, and I kept saying I'm not okay with, and nobody was listening. Everybody was telling me it's fine, even him, you tell me it's fine. He kept a good relationship with my mom. He has to. He's the father of her grandchild, and he would tell her things that, you know, he wouldn't tell me even when we weren't together anymore. He, you know, he said with Ndawo Yam it was easier working together because the dynamic was different. He even expressed the same things, but he just kind of pulled himself out of he automatically, the transition for him was when he was done with Ndawo Yam, he started producing Brahu and released Paula, and then they were in Europe 7 months of the year.
So how did you then have his role taken
What
over?
I did was, I like talking to her. I told you, I see you as a musician as well, because you are. Even the questions you ask, so they're very, you understand the thinking. What I did was, I went and hired jazz musicians, like hardcore jazz cats, Nduduzo Makatini, Lucas Sinyatso, and Ligan Brada, who is actually like the drummer for Idols now. So, and Makatini is doing very well, and Lucas is a teacher now. But I hired hardcore jazz cats, like people that, you know? And then my music is very you know, but they,
Shame. You're like, calm down.
we had lots of disagreements. Like a lot of fellow musicians have told so many stories where they would see us walking off a festival, and I would just be like angry, and I'm like, how did you guys know? Because they like to solo, and I don't like too many solos. You know, I've told you before that Eric and I had a conversation about like what I liked about Sade's drama, where it's like, I don't like it has to be simple in the pocket and whatever. So they want to solo, they want to improvise, they want to swing things, they want to do all of that. But the reason why I just wanted people that would sort of challenge me and also kind of interpret the music in a way that maybe Eric and I wouldn't have.
Would you say you were those musicians, Lauryn Hill?
Why?
Those who know what I mean by.
Oh my God! Why is that statement? Somebody even said, "I sense Zama is like a Lauryn Hill." Those who know, and it was followed with that exact statement.
Where?
I will show you
online.
Yes, on Facebook. What does that mean?
Okay, I'll tell you. So, Robert Glasper.
Yes.
Brilliant, was hired to work with Lauren, but every day if she came, they would do something and she'd want to change the whole thing. That musicians were like, "We're done with y'all," until the manager had to like beg them to come back. So when they go on for the show, like the band is like pissed off at her. She's changed things so many times, which means the music hasn't sat. And the one time they put her on the spot. Robert Glasper tells the story. Put her on the spot by starting to play, I think it was, you know the song from Sister Act?
Yes.
I think they started playing the joyful, and she was forced now to do something that she had not rehearsed to please the crowd, because they started cling, and she was like, but the reason I'm saying the Lauryn Hill is because and she's phenomenal. I'll never take that away from her. But all musicians have this thing of that one singer who's like, when you get called for a gig, you're like, I'm charging double. So that's the question. Are you the musicians, Lauryn Hill, where they're like, if Zama calls us, you have to play straight? Like, do you feel like musicians look at you that way?
Not at all. Not at all. My band is actually telling me I'm like one of the most laid back artists. It's I don't know why people have that perception of me. My band, you should call them.
I want to phone into dudes and say, was ZamaJobe or Lauryn Hill?
Never. He was the Lauryn Hill. He would show up late. He would show up late for rehearsals, Makatini, and say, "Zama, you know, I love you, man. Love you, man." Makatini, you know, but he was so talented that I would kind of let him do anything, which is not cool. But man, Makatini's talent was God-given, you know. So I would just kind of let. I'm not at all. I'm not at all. Like I told you, my band actually, because they session for other people as well. They tell me I don't have a very diva.
Look,
energy.
I know you personally, and I that was very tongue-in-cheek of me. You are very chilled, very, very chilled. I've never heard you ever raise your voice.
No.
You speak in the same kind of tone. Now I have to ask, because you did that transition, at what point did this idea of a hiatus come about?
The hiatus came about, Jesus Christ, around 2010. It was sparked. I don't think that relationship was really, you know, the problem. I think it just sort of pushed something that was already inside.
Oh, as in you had met a new person.
Yes, I had.
And you're with a new person.
Yeah, I had met a new person, and the way that things ended there, it just shifted the whole. I had a whole paradigm shift, you know. I think it was also because it was a long time coming. That's why I'm saying that it wasn't necessarily the person. I think it was just that situation brought out what was already existing inside, or something that needed to be handled within me, you know. So yeah, and then after that, it was just I just felt out of balance, and I still feel out of balance, but I feel like I'm regaining my balance in a way. I just felt out of bounds, and I just didn't want to be in front of people, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't want to.
Would you say that, because you're saying like it's almost like the relationship sort of lit a flame under something that was already amiss?
Yeah.
Was the amiss just to do with the fact that the industry is what it is, or the lifestyle that comes with the kind of work that you were doing, or the fact that you were tired, your social bundles are just so depleted? Like, what do you think it was? Because it's also not easy being a single mom, starting a new relationship?
Yeah. No, he was fantastic. Yeah, he was incredibly fantastic with my daughter, and I mean, for me, you know, I've never seen. I mean, men do that though, but like I've never seen a guy really kind of take your child on like that. But that's why I said men do that. Yeah, but so he was very much involved. Things really moved really quickly. He was helping me drop off my child at school because, you know, he had a job where he had to get up every day. Unlike me, I have to get up every day. So he was like, I will do this. You know, he was doing drop-offs and picking up, and things just really escalated really quickly. I had the father of the child introduced to him, so they know each other and things like that. So he was super great. It's just it ended because of another thing is just I like to work, and I like
He
to.
did not want you to work?
Hey, Uena, you're making me spill things.
I mean, it's because other women find themselves in that position, and it might be odd being like a whole ZamaJobe. How do you as a man meet a whole ZamaJobe? And
Okay,
then,
so
do you know what I mean?
We felt pregnant, right? And he told my mom. I don't know why my boyfriends always have relationships with my parents, but he told my mom that he thinks I should slow down a little bit, you know, and he wasn't really happy because I can do 5 things in one day. And turns out he was right, because I had a whole miscarriage on stage while performing. Yeah.
What?
I should write a book. Yeah.
What gig was this?
It was the venue in Melrose Arch.
Yes.
Remember the venue?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was some Coca-Cola collaboration thing where I think it was Coca-Cola or somebody, and they were putting like 4 artists together, and we had to do a song. And then
like a collaboration kind of things.
Yeah. And then, so it was Tear Gas, Liquid Deep, myself. It was all groups, and I was the only solo artist. So that gig, again, whenever I'm part of a project or a production, I was doing so much. I was writing the song and kind of producing the song, but Christos was really the main producer, but I was kind of like everybody arranging their parts and doing all of that. And then we had to go on tour promoting that. I don't remember what Coca-Cola was doing then, and I was singing the hook, I was singing most of the verses as well, and most of the other groups were like rappers, and Liquid Deep were the only kind of vocal like myself. And then we had a finale gig at the venue at Melrose Arch after the tours in the country. And
how far along are you at this time?
We're like just a couple of months in.
Showing or not showing?
I was not showing.
Not showing,
yeah,
okay.
Only him and I knew.
Yes. And your mom?
And his parents.
Okay, yes. And the parents, yes.
And the parents. And I think that's why he started being like full blown with my daughter as well, because he was like, okay, I need to take the load off of her. And then he started dropping her off and being a little bit more hands-on so that I can kind of focus on the work, but also, you know, my pregnancy. So I had a miscarriage on stage. Look, he's married now, you know.
So wait, when the miscarriage was happening, were you aware what was happening? You knew something was wrong?
You know what happened? We just did the finale, and I was walking off, right? And I didn't look back, thank God, because I knew that this is another colleague in the industry and I might have to face them. But he went, yo! And I was like, I'm not gonna look who this is. I knew it was my water doing something. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna look back because I'm gonna have to face this person. I might be a mess. So if I don't know who it was, then I don't have that hanging on. But it was a guy, and he went, yo, because he just saw like water. why am I laughing? He saw water just coming out, and immediately I went to go look for him. Thank God he was in the audience. He came to support me for that gig. So I went looking for him immediately, and I was like, something is up, like just water is coming out. And he took me to the car and went into my change room, got my things quickly and ran back. And then I was like, I want to go home first and freshen up. I didn't want to go straight to the hospital. I was like, I want to freshen up because I'd been gigging and all of that. I was like, I want to freshen up.
You want to freshen up for emergency room?
Yeah, I did. So I get home and I jump.
Pregnancy brain.
I jumped in the bathtub, and then there's just blood everywhere. And now we are jumping out of that. We're rushing to the hospital, and they call my gani, and my gani tells them they must keep me over and make sure I'm fine. And then he does checks me into an operation room. He's very thorough, that one, and just because he wants to just clean out the whole wound.
So when did you get told that baby's gone, or had you deduced that for yourself?
It happened in the car. Like, I literally could feel it coming out, and I said to him, oh my God, his child is coming out. I can feel it now, because the first stage was the water, and then the blood, and then the child was a him. And so by the time I got to the hospital, I could already feel that it was just coming out, and and we came back home after that, and we took 5 days off. He took 5 days off of work, and he was devastated, like really, really just red in his face and whatever. I didn't even know he had wanted the child that much. And that's when things just went down the drain. So for me, I thought we had a conversation where it was like, okay, listen, I didn't even think we really wanted this. It just kind of happened, but now can we plan for it? We talked about it. I'm really sorry. I even kind of apologized about not listening to him, because he had said, I'm taking on too much. He even called my mom and said, Zama's taking on too much. And for me, I was like, I can handle it. Turns out my body couldn't. And
do you blame yourself then for that?
I think,
because you said you apologized. So I'm like, what are you apologizing for?
Because he had he was always concerned about that, and I think I wasn't listening, and he ended up, like I said, having a conversation with my mom about that. But I'm just so used to moving and working and doing, I wasn't even thinking about that. I just told myself, once I get big, then I'll slow down a little bit. But and then it was a very abrupt ending. It was like, now I'm done with this, and me just kind of taking my things and moving out, because I was staying in his home. I was renting out my house and I was staying in his home. So I had to pack up my things and kind of get my tenants out of my home and move back. And then I just spiraled down. And I think that's how the whole hiatus thing, because it was a very shock to my system, I guess. I don't know. And I just wanted to take a break, and I just didn't feel okay.
I finally get it.
That's why I'm saying highway now, because you're the first person to pull out this truth. Everybody's like, why did you take a break? And I was like, I don't know. And I think that was it. That was the spark there, because things just started just being crazy after that. And I think it's also because I wasn't in a good space. Just my work was not okay. My record labels were suing each other. It just became crazy after all of that. And
but even just the reality of losing a child, you were a mother to a second child. So for me, the one time we had spoken, when you were promoting Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, you came into my radio show. We did an outside broadcast, and I remember saying, everybody keeps asking where you are, where you went, and you were like, I want to ask where South Africa went. Something like that. You know, why aren't I getting booked?
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, okay, then you touched on the fact that you took a break for your mental health.
Yeah.
And I thought it's because of how the industry can be, right? But now I realize you had known how the industry can be.
Yeah.
But you've just lost a child. You're not the same person. Your capacities and tolerance levels are not the same.
Yeah.
That plus going through a breakup.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
Yeah. I think that was it. I should go to therapy because I feel like my therapist would have uncovered this. But instead, I tried to figure it out on my own. Like, I just thought I was off balance, like I said. I just felt off balance, but now I realize that it was probably trauma because it is a traumatic experience. Like I said, it was even traumatic for him. His face was, he took time off, you know, from work also, and I would be sleeping all day recovering, and he'd be sleeping on the couch, and I could see that it was first time me seeing a man affected in this situation like that. Like most guys were like, oof, I dodged a bullet or something, you know, I don't know. And he was incredibly affected, and I realized how much this really meant to him as well. And well, at that time, and
Look, I get why you've never shared it before.
Yeah.
Because it's such a private thing.
Yeah.
But also, it may have still been too raw previously.
Yeah.
So when the relationship ended, you moved back to your place, but at some point, you were away for 10 years and you go to Limpopo. Like, who is in Limpopo?
My mother.
Okay, I was about to say, I thought you just went there randomly to just be like,
no.
So you went to mom in Limpopo.
I went to mom.
And had you taken a conscious decision where you said, record label, I'm pausing, like, or was it just sort of happening as it was happening?
No, so I lost my house because I wasn't functioning. I wasn't functioning. Even the way I lost that house, I shouldn't have lost it because I told my label, I need to pay my house. And they gave me like a lot of money, like in advance. They gave me like to cover all the thingies, and they got me into the studio. They tried to get me in the studio quickly, so we drop and we push, and then I recover that. You know, it was a whole plan. We had a whole discussion.
And this would have been album number 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so they gave me that cash to cover everything and then get back on my feet and all of that and whatever. And me, I told you I was off balance. I took that money and I went to New York. And then I was like, okay, I don't want, because I also had issues with my label at that time. They were pushing certain artists that were sort of had a similar vibe to me. And they were pushing me aside. It was a situation where I would write, because I am a songwriter. I would write and all of that, and then go deliver, you know, in a whole boardroom, and we're having a listening session, and I'd get told, you can do better, go back. And I kept doing that like 3 times, and imagine, these are 10-track demos. It's no child's play. And I'd go again, take another month or 2 months, and I'm writing and I'm trying different musicians, maybe a keyboard player here or a guitar player. My music is more guitar based, so you know, I always work with guitar players. And 2 months again, I'm doing that. We're going hard with whoever in the studio. Go back again, having a listening session. I'm told, go back again. And this time they're just releasing artists, they're releasing musicians, and I'm grabbing their CDs from their desk to jump in the car and listen to what these artists are doing. That is so, like, what am I doing? What am I missing? I jump in the car, beautiful albums, and I'm like, but this is not really different from what I'm doing. And I keep being told I can do better. So I'm getting frustrated with my label at this point, because I feel like I'm just constantly, just too much pressure on me to be on a certain level that is not human. And I take that money, instead of paying for my house and following the plan that they had for me, I go to New York, and this time I'd worked with a guy called Lee Rittner from the group Foreplay. Between the Sheets, ooh baby. So he was doing the Cape Town Jazz Festival, and he says he was in his hotel room and he saw my music video, liked my music, tried to contact me, got his people to contact me and whatever. So we got to do a gig, feature him at the Jazz, and then also he featured me for his upcoming album. And then we started a good relationship, me and him, where he became sort of like a mentor. I love guitars, and he's the best guitar player in the world. So we started a relationship, and he was sort of like a mentor to me, and I told him that this is what's happening. I was telling him everything about my life. We would Skype all the time. And I said, I'm going to New York. And he said, okay, introduce me to...
Was the New York trip for you like trying to get your creative juices back?
I literally wanted to kind of relocate, and find a new label, and I was like, and I don't want to work with other people in South Africa, so I thought, go to the States. You know, I think a lot of creators have done this, even actors, where they're just like, I'm going to Hollywood, I want something bigger, you know, I want to reach bigger masses or something like that. So I go to New York and I meet, I think his name was David, I forgot. He was like an entertainment lawyer for a lot of people in the industry. Kelly Rowlands, you can name them, a lot of people in the industry overseas. He meets, because he's worked with Lee, so he meets with me for 30 minutes. He had 30 minutes slot for me. But as you can see, I'm very talkative. He ended up moving the meetings just to hang out with me, this South African girl. And we were going through music videos. I was telling him what was happening with my label back home. This is what's happening and all of that and whatever. And then he immediately had a plan for me because he knows everybody. He's an entertainment lawyer. He said, okay, it's not a matter of, can I find somebody for you? It's a matter of, I need to find the right person for you. Introduces me to Lady Gaga's first producer, her ex-boyfriend. Again, his name was Paul, I think. And he introduces me to him. Things move very quickly in New York, thank God. You know, I was there 2 days, 3 days, I'm in a studio session with Paul.
Wow.
Yeah. And I walk into the studio session. So the sessions there are different from here at home, whereas I can go in tracksuits and because I'm going to sing, nobody's video, whatever. But there you come as who you are, the image, the vibe.
Yes.
You know, like Mary J. Blige is walking in with the fur coat and she's got that thing.
And the boots.
And the whole thing, you know. So me, I'm in tracksuits, so they can't really, you know, position me. I had locks then. And so I walk in and they loud, they've got Hennessy, they got cigar, it's that vibe. And very different from my studio vibe. My studio vibe is very zen and whatever. And he says to me, just sing for me. And I said, I don't audition. I'm way past that stage now. Didn't you check out my stuff to have an idea of what I do? And he was like, no, I didn't want that influencing me. So I was like, okay, you play something then we can riff off. Yeah. So he was like, okay. And they were like, okay. You know, because I was like, no, we're going to audition. Come on now. And so he starts playing. He's a classically trained pianist. So he starts playing a little bit of something and we just riff off or whatever. And he was like, okay, cool. Now I get your range, I get your sound, I get your feel, I get all of that. I've got the perfect song for you. We recorded within an hour and the song sounds amazing. And he says, now he's excited and everybody in there is like, oh my God, this is going to work. La, 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 la. This is what I'm going to do with you. I'm going to call Dave and I'm going to tell him this and this and this and this. This is what we're going to do. We've got a whole plan. And then the creative direction of the album, we start clashing then. Like he even has another house in New Jersey. He's like, I'm gonna put you there. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna put you with a band. You're gonna rehearse. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna host a night at a club. And I'm gonna invite music executives and whatever. You're gonna put up a performance. And he's like, one of them is gonna bite, trust me. We're gonna put up a performance, and when all of that is supposed to happen, we start having a clash with the musical direction. My locks start being a problem. Certain things start being a problem.
You must cut them, change your look.
Yeah, it was just like kind of changing my looks. I had to be more like a sassy vibe, and I'm not sassy, you know. I'm very Lauryn Hill. I'm very intense. I don't do that.
And that's what they wanted you.
You know, the sassy, you know. So I was like, nah, I'm more creative, I'm more artistic. I'm more of an artist than, you know, that vibe. So all of that started becoming a bit of an issue. And now, you know, 250 in New York. How much did my label give me? About 250K, yeah. 250K is in New York is nothing.
250K of the label's money to try and divorce them, basically.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming things don't work out, and at some point now the money's gone.
Yeah.
You come home and they're like, your house is
I
gone.
come home and then it's like the bank is like, Sisi, you know, come on, you know. And now all of this is happening, and remember, I'm still recovering from the trauma as well, and it's a lot of things that I just was feeling very out of balance about my life, and I'm not thinking straight, because there's a lot of things I could have done with that home. I could have not moved back into the house. I could have rented it out again. And I think I did try that, and then the family just kind of, it was an African family, and they just vandalized it. They vandalized the home. They had too many people in the home, and it was just crazy, and I couldn't handle that situation as well. And I was just tired. I was just tired. I couldn't think.
How did you survive in Limpopo, where you're not gigging, you've lost your house?
Yeah.
Was mom taking care of you because you're a mom at the time?
No. I have royalties still.
Yes.
Yeah. I still would get my royalty check because I'm a singer. I write my music. So, and even me disappearing from the game, my music was still being played a lot, you know. So yeah, my royalty checks were just helping.
So before I find out where you are today, you have a second child who was like a surprise baby. Yeah. And before we started rolling, you shared with me that you didn't know till you were 7 months pregnant, and this was by air hostesses treating you a certain way when you didn't know you were pregnant. Yeah. So when you go to the gynae and there's like a whole baby there, what was the status of you and Dad's relationship at the time? Was it like, okay, there's a baby coming, I'm excited? Yeah. Or was it like, oh?
Yeah, it was, during, I mean, I gave birth to him on the year lockdown, the first lockdown in 2020. And yeah, I mean, it was like, oh my God. Because this time around, I kind of wanted to go through like the right channels of having a child, you know, well, for me, you know, in a sense that I told you, solidify the relationship with the person. We even get married and then bring a child into the situation, because this time around I'm having a second baby daddy, and it's just not a good look for me, and not even the way that I was raised. You know, my mom is very Christian, the background and all of that, so was just not. I don't judge anybody who's doing it any other way, but it was just, for me, not a very kind of biblical way to go about it. So I was just like, oh man. But the child was here. He wanted to be here, you know, and I was already 7 months, you know. He wanted to come. So and he's just a blessing to me. Even this album is named after him. So yeah.
And then what happened with you and Dad?
Jesus. Again, the same thing was repeating itself. You know, the stress of the child, and he was slightly younger than me as well. So that was also a bit problematic. Not slightly, a lot younger, but that was slightly. So that was just very problematic as well. And then, you know, he passed away. Yeah. So in a very tragic way as well. So that was, there was a lot.
Was he murdered or was it like a car accident?
It was a car accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What relationship term? What were the terms of your relationship like at the time? Were you guys getting along and co-parenting?
We were co-parenting. Yeah, but that relationship was also it was really, really bad before we got to that place. There was courts involved. It was a lot of things. It was, I would say, one of like the most toxic relationships I had ever been in my whole life. And yeah, so, you know, I mean, when the baby came, I kind of cleaned up my act, you know, and it naturally just got into place. I stopped drinking completely, you know, and it's been 4 years now, and I actually don't even want to go back, not judging anybody who does. And I became celibate as well, you know, and that's also been 4 years. And, you know, just really wanting to kind of do things the right way and meet a person the right way, get to know them, and before we even engage in anything on a physical level, we need to be married. That's for me, though. We need to like be married and whatever. So a lot of people don't understand that, you know, because the dynamic and the landscape right now in this era that we live in is so different. So your phone is quiet, which is great because I'm getting time to get my balance together, to get my life together, cleaning up my act, and raising my children, dropping my music, doing my thing.
Do you feel like you are still on a journey of healing? And I mean, you mentioned going to therapy, so I would assume you never went even once.
I went with the second child, my father's child, because we were, like I said, the relationship was really bad, where my mom...
Sorry, child's father.
Child's father.
Yes,
Sorry, did I say it wrong?
You said father's child.
Oh,
I was like,
God, child's father, sorry.
Child's father, yes, yes.
That's why I paused, because I was trying to find the word, sorry.
Yes.
So, yeah, like the mother... God bless her heart, she was such a beautiful woman. She arranged for us to go to therapy because it was affecting her, and they would have conversations with my mom as well. Would have family meetings where the mother is calling a family meeting with my mom to have a discussion because our relationship was so bad. It was so bad. And, you know, she would kind of suggest a way forward just for the sake of the child, you know, and she would book us therapy sessions. So we would go there so that he can talk about what is bothering him, and he would always talk about how he has anger issues and whatever. That's why for me, I stopped him from seeing the child, not because of anything. And then he took me to court for that. And it was because...
Okay, so court was around access to the child.
Yeah, it was, he wanted access. And the reason, and I don't condone any woman because you guys are breaking up now, blocking the, you know, for me, it was because of his anger issues, and I didn't want that energy around my child. And I wanted him to sort that out and put aside his feelings and however he feels about our situation, whatever, put that aside and let's focus on the child for now. And
it's so weird that when you said second child, I thought about the one who passed on. So do you think of yourself as a mother of 3, or do you think of yourself as a mother of 2?
Wow. I mean, until now, I'm thinking I should think of myself as a mother of 3, but I was just considering the ones that are here, and they born. Yeah, the ones that are born.
Baba is 4.
Yeah.
Where are you at mentally, emotionally in your life right now?
Where I am in my life right now is I am kind of finding out who I am, you know, getting into a situation where I'm loving myself, and I'm loving my art, what I'm doing, and I'm hopeful and I'm excited about the journey ahead. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in a it's still a process and it's still a journey, but I feel like I'm finally there isn't so much turmoil that's happening inside of me, because there was just so much turmoil that was happening and inside, and then it was coming out, and that's why my life was just going crazy like that with everything that was happening.
Do you feel like the country abandoned you, or do you think you abandoned the country? Because many people are like, where did she go?
Yeah.
But there is a period when bookings dry out.
Yeah, I think the funny thing is, when I was in Polokwane, I would just be getting like 1 gig a year or 2 gigs. It was weird. But like I said, I had my royalties and things like that. But, you know, the dynamic between my mother and I also was, I told you, we had a very also kind of, just a lot of turmoil, you know, and it affects the people. Yeah, we had a difficult relationship. So I just decided to come back to Joburg without a plan. And at that time, it was, I just packed up my daughter, put her in the back seat, and I drove back. And I remember I was just crying, and I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, I don't know, we'll see, you know? And as soon as I landed, I did not get a new label. I did not get a manager. I did not get a PR person. I didn't get anything. I just rented out a little flat for myself and my daughter, and I just chilled. And then I just started gigging, just like that.
Now you're here.
I was just gigging. I was getting booked for festivals again. I didn't announce anything. Just the energy was just, I was where I was meant to be. So I was like, okay, now I'm never going back to Polokwane. I'm never going to New York. This is a place that connects with my spirit and whatever. It just works for me. And I just started working. And yeah.
Do you still owe your record label anything?
No, they've retrieved that money. Nah.
So you're out on your own. You're independent. You left Polokwane. What's your relationship with mom like now?
We are good, you know. She's also getting older and getting sickly, so she's a little bit calmer. Not as feisty, you know, doesn't have the energy. So she's also, and also when I left Polokwane, I didn't speak to her for years.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't. And I'm her only daughter, so that, I think that's stressed her out, and it maybe started making her realize that whatever things that I have an issue with are like serious for me, you know. I know we told our parents are African and that's how they are and we need to listen and da-da-da-da-da, but for me I was just like, no, some things are a little too much for me, and I can't handle that. So I didn't speak to her for a long time. And I just came back here and I told myself that whatever happens, I'm never making decisions. Because even with me in the house and taking things for granted, it was always, I knew I can always go back home. You know what I mean? Me taking that cash and not paying my house and not fixing my things properly and whatever, it was always, whatever happens, I can go back home. So after that happened, that put that thing in my head, I can't go back home. I can't, you know, I don't want to live with a parent, you know, I want to live by myself or whatever. So now I'm making decisions where I'm like not making stupid decisions like that. Yeah.
Thank you for coming. I think there's so much about your life that people are not aware of.
Yeah.
And this is kind of going to put the puzzle pieces together.
You're gonna bring me so much drama.
I don't even think so.
I watch this podcast and like, headlines.
I think a lot of people are going to have such a better understanding of you, where you're at.
Yeah.
I'm loving that you've returned to your sound, and it sounds like you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the next chapter. You're celebrating 20 years of your first album.
Yes.
And I just wish you continued healing, man. I think you've been through so much.
Yeah.
I wish you continued healing, especially for the children and your son who's now lost a dad, which is so heavy. In closing, is there anything you want to share with the viewers?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank them. They didn't abandon me. So, so I, you know, thank you for the people that are still rocking with me. And
there you have it. Thank you for the people still rocking with her. And to those of you that are rocking with me on this channel, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the notification bell and stay tuned for more of the Relebogile Mabotja podcast on the channel. Hit the comments down below with any questions you may have, or share with us who you'd like to see on the show. From me, I'm out.